Ooh. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I thought I'd give everybody a little tour of the tribe trailer. All right. I'm just gonna post up here for a minute till maybe I get some friends on to say hello. Good morning. Good morning, Jason. Hello, you handsome man. Jason, where do you live? Are you? Because I know I met you down in at Playa. Are you on the west side? Missoula West. And Ronnie Patton. Well, hey, I wasn't even really sure I was going to do a Facebook Live this morning because I was considering doing a virtual martial art class. There's a Italian martial art dude who trains apparently the Pope's private guards, and so he was having a virtual martial art meeting that my men's group when he was in town, we hired him to do a class. It was really, really cool. It was profound. He's kind of a genius. But it just was too much of a technological hump to get over. And so I bailed on it. But maybe that's kind of a good segue to talk about the inertia of engaging with new things, because I think that's probably relevant right now. Viktor Frankl talks about when we can no longer change a situation, then we are forced to change ourselves. And so that's what we're in right now. Of course, he's referring to, a concentration camp situation. Viktor Frankl, his Meaning book, really profound piece of writing. So we're obviously not in a concentration camp, at least, and some of you are, and I don't want to dismiss or marginalize some people's experience who are in extreme financial or hopefully not a either physical or emotional abusive situation. But I understand that if you are quarantined with someone or with a situation that is not tenable, then I get could be somewhat of a concentration camp situation. For a lot of us, it's more abstract. And obviously, there's imminent pressures. There's going to be a rising sense of anxiety about the future and potential regret and depression about lost opportunities in the past that were, starting to hemorrhage. And so that Viktor Frankl quote about we can't change these things right now. We can't change quarantine. We can't change the duration. We can't change our government. We can't change a whole slew of things. And so, we need to change ourselves. And I think that's what's in front of us right now. And to be blaming the government and blaming our leadership, for me, and this is just Philip Folsom, that's outside of my pay grade. It's outside of my sphere of influence. I'm not in those halls right now. And so I certainly want to be educated, but I'm not participating in the churn of all of these different perspectives on coronavirus. And it's Armageddon, or it's a government hoax, or it's going to be over in 2 weeks, or it will last till September. Like, I don't know. And I do really believe, and I've adopted the axiom by Dr. Roger Butters. He's a economist that I worked with a long time ago, and he said the only choices that matter are the ones available to you. And that really hit me like a ton of bricks, because I really had a lot of concerns about everything and what I'm going to be and what I'm going to do and how am I being perceived. And I can't change that. I can't even really affect it in almost any way, except obviously within my sphere of control. And so that was almost an absolution, and I would love to just share that, pay that forward for you. Is there's a bunch of stuff you can't change, but what you can change is everything that you can see right now, everything that you can feel right now, everything that you can reach out and engage and touch. And this constitutes your habitual behaviors, and habits are so ingrained and embedded in our operating system that most of the time we don't even realize what our habits are because they're autopilot. Habits are just encoded synaptic grooves that are designed for efficiency. And it's very important because we cannot think intentionally about every step we take and every brushing of the tooth. So these are dropped into patterns, which we call habits. And habits have nothing to do with growth and transformation, change, resiliency, and anything else. So the transition from habits into practices is really what Viktor Frankl is talking about is, hey, if we can't change the situation, we have to now start changing ourselves. And this is the process of illuminating the shadow that Carl Jung talks about. So what are the habits of our life, our perspectives, our worldviews, our behaviors that are no longer suiting the situation? Ray, hey, good to see you, my man. I miss you. Brad Fry, good to see you yesterday as well. And a lot of men watching. I can't really see all the men who are on here because I'm on my phone right now. But every week, Wednesday, we have K4 men's group. It's we're going virtual, obviously. If any of you men would like the Zoom link, then please message me and I will send that to you. And Jason, I emailed it to you yesterday. Ray, if you're interested in being around a bunch of good men, I'd love to have you too. And Brad, you're always invited. You always got a seat at my table. All right, so the movement from to practices, and Ray's referring to that, which ones we choose to act on. Yep, that's exactly it. So there's a 4-stage sequence of moving from the unconscious incompetence. And this is a review for a lot of you guys, but very, very profound cycle of things. Our habits are the unconscious incompetence, or dysfunctional habits, are the unconscious incompetence that we're not aware of. And a lot of times, I'll have people just simply become aware of your posture right now. Just take your awareness into your posture. And for most people that I share that with, within one breath, they've already changed their posture. And that doesn't mean that when I said become aware of your posture, that all of a sudden there's this shaming or judgment about, I should change, I should improve. We do that automatically. People always make their best choices. And this is another economic statement, and it's based on some of the basic principles of economics, that people always will make their best choices. It doesn't mean it's their healthiest. It doesn't mean it's their most altruistic or their most service or growth oriented. That doesn't mean best. Best means in alignment with what your core values or your top priority is. So now when we're getting to changing ourselves and upgrading our operating system and our practices so that we can intentionally respond, thrive, potentially even flourish during these new times, or at least survive, and with resiliency, we have to realize that we may need to shift our priorities. We may, and I don't like the word priorities. I'm training myself to. There is no priorities. There is priority. So, what is our number one priority? And if we can really commit and hold to that, then we will automatically start making choices differently, because that's the way that we're designed to operate. Okay, so that's part of changing ourselves, is shifting our priority and our values, and we move at that point from the unconscious incompetence, which is I didn't even know that I was slumped over like, an old man. Like, oh, that's available to me. I can change my posture. But it takes a lot of energy. Rewiring and reestablishing new habits takes and I've heard it was over 90% more energy. It's exhausting. It's the reason why change is so difficult. And so if we're constantly focusing on our posture right now, we realize, wow, I really can't do anything else except for focus on my posture. And that's why establishing new habits, right, which I'm going to call a new habit, is called a practice. It's not a habit anymore. It's now a practice. And they're always hard. And so we want to be very intentional about what we are establishing, and we can really only do one at a time. And it takes a tremendous amount of energy, and that's called conscious incompetence, which means I'm now aware of the things I need to change. And if I'm very focused on this and I'm working really hard and I've created my priority intentionally, I move now to conscious competence. This is stage 3. And that means as long as I'm really focused, my posture is better. My spiritual practice is better. My diet is better. I'm exercising every day. I'm reaching out and connecting to my core tribe. And eventually, when we do this long enough, and there's a lot of different schools of thought and studies about how long it takes to be able to create a new habitual pattern or habit of behavior. Some people say 28 days. Some people say it's 2 months. Some people are saying 90 days for a new lifestyle. Regardless, at some point, that conscious competence that's burning a lot of energy, is really exhausting, eventually establishes a new synaptic groove right next to the old one. And now we don't have to work so hard because now we've created that new channel, pattern, or habit of behavior. And now we're in unconscious competence. Now, isn't that a great place to be, where I no longer have to worry about certain things? Willpower is not inexhaustible. Willpower functions much like a muscle. So when we're using willpower to navigate through the adversity of our lives, it's exhausting and short-lived, and it will fail. So the best use of willpower is to establish these habits that require no willpower. And it takes time. And guys, you can't do this journey alone. In the book Iron John, they say you need at least 3 good men to bucket out the lake. So, or good women, right? Good humans, tribes people. We cannot maintain new habits and practices for a period of time that it takes to be able to establish that unconscious competence. So we need accountability from our tribe, really, really central to this journey that we're on. So stay connected, guys. During these periods of quarantined isolation, tune into these Facebook Lives. Everybody's got virtual programs. Stay off the news feeds, guys. Stay off that just endless, chattery, distractive churn of just frenetic gossip about things. I don't know if that's helping our journey collectively, because it's bleeding all of our energy that we could be used to actually be establishing some practices that will make us resilient and healthy and productive during these times. So that's the way I'm looking at this anyway. I look at the news in the morning and I want to find out what the big government's doing with response and money and all those things. Great. I want to hear from a couple smart people about any new developments in the corona journey. But beyond that, I'm working my game, and I'm connecting with my people. And so that's what I'm doing. And I paraphrased an old Napoleon quote on one of my posts today, and I just want to kind of cite my sources. So Napoleon says that leaders are dealers in hope. And I just kind of tagged on resiliency to that too, because I think that's what we are. And so my definition of a leader is somebody whose decisions affect other people. And that may or may not be you, but at the very least, we lead ourselves. And this is the establishment of new practices. But at some point, we realize that no matter what our behavior or lack of behavior is, it is connecting other people. And right now that's on social media and virtually, but it's a true thing. So, this is our time that it's time to lead. It's time to deal in hope. It's time to deal in resiliency. It's time to deal with accountability and connection. And there's a lot of there's a noticeable silence from a lot of the spiritual community now. And that's not everybody. There's certainly a lot of people who have fully engaged and they've adopted this as their practice. But there's a lot of bandwagon folks who have disappeared. There's a lot of leaders who have disappeared. And this is your time. This is our time. And looks like I dropped out for a minute. I'm back on with my rant. So, hey, leaders, this is the time when we need to deal in hope and resiliency. And so recommit, guys. We need you to do that. All right. Ray, I feel you. I feel you. That's why I'm not participating in that downward spiral. I don't need the fear and panic. I don't need the reactivity. I want to maintain my momentum, and I don't need to be blown around. I'm very careful how I set my sails during this time. And a lot of times, hey, when it gets too loud and the wind's too crazy, pull your sails down and get to the oars. And that's what I'm doing. I want to go under my own power, and I want to make sure that I invite the correct people to my rowboat. Okay? And I figure I got about 12 seats to the people who got the oars, and I want to make sure that we're working with each other, not against each other. And for everybody else out there on the rowboats, who are catching the tides and motivating each other and cheering each other on, I'm very happy to throw you a rope if you need it. So, Andy Petronic asking about hope. Yeah, that's that Napoleon quote. Without it, we are lost. Hope springs eternal. And guys, that we're not designed to play defense. We're not designed to run. We're not designed to avoid. We have eyes in the front. We like to hunt. This puts us in the predator bucket. Predators don't play defense. Predators don't hunker down. Predators go out. We engage. We explore. We hustle. We sometimes have to fight and hunt. And this is that game, guys. And so hope, in many ways, is a synonym for all of those things. Carl Jung calls that axis of engagement or assertiveness, he calls it struggle. And hope is connected to struggle. And without it, there is no struggle. We're designed for that. And when we start holding our intentions about what we want to create as opposed to what we want to avoid, we're activating that neural net of our predator heritage. And the majority of our brain is designed for acquisition. So our brain doesn't know don't. So when I tell myself, don't get depressed, well, I just told my brain, well, get depressed. Okay? So if I want to change that semantically with the language that I'm telling myself, my words are, that's spelling, right? Spelling is the act of a sound, an idea turned into a sound that goes across space and then creates an impact in the real world. Our words are doing that. When the way we write, what we post, what we share, how we speak to each other, we're impacting the lives of our tribe with all of those. We're casting spells. This is hope. So make sure that the spells you're casting are that light magic and not the dark kind of fear and panic and drama and depression. This is an opportunity for a cathartic transformation. And at the darkest point of every journey, and I don't think we're there yet, there will be an abyss. For some of you guys, you're already in the abyss. But the abyss is designed to force the main character of the story to look at their dysfunction, to look at their life, to look at their character and their behavior. And then the abyss is designed to kill it. This is when we move from being the main character of the story to being the hero of the story. And it's, to answer Andy's question about hope, there has to be that's the dark night of the soul. It really is that thing. And a lot of times we risk losing hope, which is one of the reasons why, and we all do lose hope. It's the reason why you have those three good men who are with you, because they maintain hope. They have their fires lit, and we can build our fire off their fire. And that's why leaders are dealers in hope. Our jobs are to keep the fire lit, people. And we got to keep our wood dry if we're going to keep our fire lit. So one of the ways we keep our wood dry, or keep our powder dry, right? Isn't that what the pirates said, or I don't know. I guess any people who risk getting their powder wet. Well, if we let our powder get dry, we let our wood get wet, then very hard to keep your fire lit, particularly in the middle of these storms. And so for me, keeping my wood lit means I work out every day. I need to. It's my anti-depression protocol. And that is psychologically vital for me, but it's also physiologically vital because I get all these delicious neurochemicals when I work out. And yeah, I'm an addict. And that's my reality. I am an addict. I've been sober for about a decade now. And so I'm very careful about what I get addicted to and what I unleash myself on. And exercise and personal growth and reading and all these things, that's my junk. And choose pick your poison carefully, people. All right, rant over. It was have an absolutely blessed day, everybody. Own your day, own your reality. God gave us free will. We have metacognition. We have the ability to change. It's called neuroplasticity. Whatever framing you have around this, guys, if you can't change a situation, change yourself. Viktor Frankl. So stay connected. Reach out to me at any point and seize the day. All right? Carpe diem. All right, y'all. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. Let's go get it.